Okay, so welcome everybody to the eighth FAQCrew GM chat, and I have a new guest who will introduce himself now.
Hello, everybody. I am Ben Puppy Smith on Twitter. That nickname. And at TigerHeart678. I don't really know what else to say. I'm a 19-year-old college student over in America, and I study math and music.
All right.
Basic things about me.
Okay, so let's get going with how did you get into role-playing and DMing?
Well, it's freshman year of high school. My friends at my lunch table were like, "Hey, we should try this thing. I think Dungeons & Dragons. I've played a little bit of this." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what's going on." So we tried playing that. It turns out that none of them have ever actually had experience playing it correctly. And this was, I think, before 5e came out. So we were playing either 3.5 or 4. I don't remember. That lasted like 2 weeks before we gave up. And then nothing really happened until my senior year of high school where I saw Critical Role for the first time.
Yeah.
My friend had messaged me and said, "Hey, this is on." And I'm like, "Okay." So I watched it and I fell in love with it pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
From there, it was watching probably 2 months of Critical Role because it started in March, and then I got my first group together in May of 2014.
15 probably, or?
15, yes.
Yeah.
And I got a group of 7 of us together. I did not actually end up DMing that. I had a friend who had a little bit more experience DM it, and we were playing through the starter set campaign that Dungeons & Dragons released, where I played my first Dragonborn Druid. And after that, that group kind of fell to the wayside as people started to go off and do their own things with college.
Yeah.
But then I created for when we're at home, I created a group for just the people who are at college who then can come home for breaks and play.
Oh, that's nice.
Pretty much my best friends.
Yeah.
And I ended up DMing that one, and we're running Horde of the Dragon Queen, another
Nice.
module campaign. And then I think slightly before that campaign started, I joined Desert Winds, which is the online game run by Kalia Cosmic Candy on Twitter. And then right after that campaign started, I also joined the Brunch Bunch, run by Sizzlurk on Twitter.
Yeah.
So right now, the only game I actually DM is my in real life one, and we haven't done it in a while. But once we get back to it, I plan on continuing DMing and learning.
Great. So you said you run the Horde of the Dragon Queen, which is I think the first part of a 2-part campaign?
Yes, it is the first part of the whole Rise of the Dragons. I think it's called campaign.
Yeah.
Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat are the 2 ones, and we are running through Horde of the Dragon Queen. Yep.
Okay. And do you take the adventure, the module as written, or do you make changes when you feel they are appropriate?
So far, I have made my own changes where necessary. I keep a lot of encounters the same. They run for what encounters they do. I take it from the book because it would know better than I would for building encounters and whatnot. When it comes to story elements and role playing, I take my own liberties with making it as cohesive as possible. Usually with the campaign module, especially from what I've seen with Horde of the Dragon Queen, it doesn't seem always as cohesive with role-playing, and it doesn't give you too much.
Okay.
So you have to be able to read ahead and make your own decisions on what these characters would be doing beforehand. And it's definitely an RPing experience, switching between characters and making everything cohesive.
Yeah.
And then also being able to add in player elements that they had before with their own backstories, because really these modules don't play into that. Like they can't predict what a player's backstory will be. So I've taken on myself to think ahead and be like, okay, where can I insert a plot element from a story, like from a backstory, into here to make it more emotionally engaging for the players.
Yeah. Okay, so and as you do that and run through the campaign, how much influence or do the players and their backgrounds and their actions influence the events? Or do you let them influence the events?
Um, Somewhat. It depends on. Right now, backstory hasn't come in too much to play yet. They're still trying to get their footing for who exactly their characters are.
Okay.
But they're starting to get personalities and starting to figure out like how they're going to interact with the world. Most of these players are new, so they're still trying to step into the whole RPing experience. With their choices do have decisions, like do have repercussions. Sometimes if they're not defined in the book, I have to think about it. Like, okay, what would change here? What would this make people more friendly? Would this make people more hostile? You gotta have a balance of that. But also, I try to make it as close to the book as possible, if not just to distract myself and make it incohesive.
Yeah. Okay. And I haven't really read it the campaign completely. Where's the focus? What type of campaign is it? Is it combat oriented or exploration oriented or role playing oriented? And what do you prefer of these three pillars?
So far, from what I've read through this campaign, it seems very it's very inspired by you guys have stumbled onto something big, and now you're going on to an adventure. It's very adventure-esque with its you have to save the city. Now you got to go to this dungeon and you got to kill some things, and now this cult is somewhere else, and you got to travel there and try to stop them. It's very basic video game adventure-esque
Okay.
in my opinion. And while that is good, especially for a first campaign, because you don't necessarily want as many role-playing experiences because that can overwhelm the player. If a player who's getting into it can ease into it with that kind of campaign, I think it's great. I personally would love to run more of a RP-focused campaign where the characters' decisions have all the effect on the world, and it's really them running their own adventure in a crazy world, and they get to make more decisions than just follow this plot line.
Yeah.
Thing.
So it's a pretty linear campaign, you'd say.
Yeah, pretty much. And like I said, I don't think that's terrible for a first campaign, but
Not, yeah.
but being able to find that mix of linear versus decision based and not make it seem as linear as it is. If you can kind of let people go off and do their own things, but then still kind of herd them, yeah, we're supposed to go this way, sort of thing. That's good.
Okay. How much time do you spend in preparation for your sessions? Prep time compared to playing time?
Probably about hour and a half. I have a lot of what's laid out in front of me usually. I spend most of my time typing up my encounters into an Excel sheet.
Okay.
I'm one of those people that likes everything very organized when it comes to that. I want to be able to look at something and be like, yeah, that's what I need. And I don't want to be searching through books.
Okay.
And then most of my sessions are usually 3 to 4 hours, if only that's because that's when my voice starts to give out.
Okay, yeah.
And I need to just take a mental break from all the craziness that's happening. I have a feeling like that time will be able to strengthen as I start to play and DM more. But right now it's about hour and a half to every 3 to 4 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad.
It's not awful.
Yeah. Okay.
I probably should prepare more.
Well, if I always think if you're comfortable with the way you prepare and players having fun, you're having fun, I think that's fine. There shouldn't be a set you know, for a good campaign, you have to prepare the same amount of hours as you intend to play. I don't think that works
Yeah, no, I get it.
because otherwise I'd be an awful DM. Um,
Uh,
okay, what have been, or what do you think have been the influences on your DMing style, and who maybe?
well, the easy one is Matthew Mercer. He's the one who really got me to understand what D&D is
Mm-hmm.
and how you're supposed to run it in a way that makes it good for the player and the DM.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much through Critical Role, I've been taught this is how you run a campaign in which encompasses everything and doesn't feel overwhelming at the same time because you're all having so much fun, and that's the main goal of pretty much every DM.
Yeah.
And then outside sources would definitely be both Kalia and Chris, who are my DMs on my online game.
Yeah.
They both run their games very differently,
Mm-hmm.
and I've taken aspects from both. Both the usually with Kalia, it's the having fun aspect,
Mm-hmm.
letting players do some crazy stuff, and still as long as it's cohesive. And Chris, it's making the world more serious. He's very good at just making sure that you understand that yes, you're in this world, but you're not invincible.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the time to completely joke around the entire time. Take 5 long rests in one dungeon and expect to still and expect to just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And making your decisions matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the realism of that because it makes it more. It makes it more intimate in a way for the player to be with the story.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you take your influences. You take the basically the things that you like and try to implement them.
Yes, and while no DM is perfect, it's good to be able to take those good things and try to implement them as best as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't completely done that yet. I'm still learning, and sometimes you might find that maybe one thing you like about one of your campaigns isn't something that your players like.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to start to adjust based on what your players like to make it fun for all still.
Okay, and at what? Sorry, let me try that again. Where are you trying to improve currently in your aiming? What's your goal at the moment?
RPing. I understand my characters that I play, like when I play my own PCs.
Yeah.
I understand them usually pretty forward and back. I understand how they would react. Me putting on the DM cap then and trying to play 7 different people all at once.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know how to do that yet and make it cohesive so that I'm like, I got to think about how this person would respond, and now I'm going to respond. No, I need it. I want to make it easy flowing, and that's something I'm currently trying to work on with just putting on different masks, kind of like Matt Mercer is always like shown doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So having a conversation with oneself as DM it's hard.
Yeah, and I've luckily never really had to do that yet.
Yeah.
But I know at some point the players are just gonna have to watch me have a conversation, and I'm just gonna be like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So next question would be: have you had player characters die yet in your campaign, and how do you go about it?
I have not yet. I've been lucky so far. The closest we've gotten is unconsciousness with death saving throws.
Yeah.
My one player went up and faced a half dragon, which is one of the first things you really do in the campaign. Right at the end of the first chapter,
Yeah.
You're supposed to lose the fight.
Okay.
It's one of those things like you're not too strong yet, but it's the best way to save some hostages.
Yeah.
So she went up and she fought this half dragon and died. And my players were worried And I'm like, no, she's like, I didn't say this out loud, but I'm in my head. I'm like, no, I'm not going to let her die. You're not supposed to die at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
you're supposed to take some death saving throws, but even in the module it says, yeah, she's not actually the half dragon. I think it's she or he. Honestly, it's one of the two.
Yeah.
Um, they're not supposed to want to actually kill the person, just
Mm-hmm.
make it really close. So, but if I can make my players feel like, yeah, that's an intense moment, and we need to be careful from now on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going for. But no, I really haven't had a player die yet. Oh, train.
Yeah.
Of course it's now.
But it's not too bad. So
Yeah, okay.
how do you think would you go by the rules of dying and resurrection magic, or would you use the Mercer method, or would you do something completely different?
I love the Mercer method. I'm not sure if I would use it yet in a campaign full of new people.
Hmm.
Especially those that haven't had the RP time to really talk to their characters yet.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, have their characters have emotional bonds between themselves. Right now, if a player died and there was a way for them to be resurrected, I think I would kind of use the Mercer method. I would do
Hmm.
like a modified version where I would give them the opportunity uh, to help
Hmm.
in some way. But if it's going to be a spell that completely in the rules defines if this person died within 1 minute and you can resurrect them, and they help, I'm going to more do that for the RP aspects.
Hmm.
And like I might roll, but the DC is going to be so damn low that it's almost impossible that they're not going to be revived.
Yeah.
If only for the reason that I'd rather go off the rules for characters that haven't gotten to know each other yet and have been able to make those bonds that the Mercer method would require.
Hmm. All
That's
right.
where I'm kind of at right now. I would like to move to the Mercer method at some point, and I think it's a good idea. Maybe lower the DC if the rules completely state with the way that they're being resurrected. It would be completely fine. If you're trying to do it with rules that don't work, like for the
Hmm.
spell, I probably would just say no. It just doesn't happen.
All right. Okay. So now to to one of my favorite parts, the telling of tales. So I'd like to hear an anecdote or your favorite anecdote from being a player and a DM.
Okay. I have not been playing that long, so I don't have like the crazy stories other people do. Um, Probably my favorite thing about being a player is probably just my character in general from my Brunch Bunch crew.
Hmm.
Um, he's young and naive. He's an Eric Hawker who's 4 years old. Um, Yet he has this strange sorceress power that he's never used, and he's gotten two how do you want to do this on both an undead Naga and an undead Beholder.
Hmm.
And that right there has been like the biggest RP moments for me so far
Yeah.
have been him just realizing that his power can be used for good, which isn't like it's not a crazy thing. It's more like a sentimental thing for me.
Hmm.
For DMing, probably in very early in the campaign that I DM, they have to go into a temple and rescue a bunch of people that are inside while cultists are surrounding it. And they have to. The module states that going through the back door is going to be the easiest way to do this.
Okay.
And they were about to go through the back door, and there's like a group of 5 of them. There's a group of 5 cultists near the back door trying to get in. And they just kind of all rush up, yelling and raging at once, and kill all 5 of them like super quickly. One of them starts to run away, and the one person's like, "Nope," and then shoots in the back. And then they get out, and this was like right at the end of the session because somebody had to go. So I'm trying to just make it go quickly. Like, you guys got to get these people out of here. So what they did was pretty much just bum rush all of the hostages out through the back door and just started taking off towards like the secret tunnel to get them into the keep that was in the town. And I think that was just a funny moment because they're just like, guys, we need to go, and I'm just like, yeah, you really need to go. um, yeah, those have probably been my favorite moments so far as a player and DM.
Hmm.
Um, there was a time actually in today's session that I forgot how to read a map, which ended up making me roll a personal intelligence roll with a +2 modifier because I'm in college.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. So
Overall, it was just fun.
to wrap things up, any advice or wise words you want to share with other DMs?
If you're if you have more experience than me, keep doing what you're doing. I don't know. I don't have the tips and tricks right now to help DMs that know what they're doing. If you're new and you're thinking, I don't know if I can DM, take it slow. Take your time to get a module. Don't be afraid to use a module for your first time to help you get acclimated to understanding how DMing works, how the game works in general, especially if you have new players. Take time to read through the module, change what you want to make your game fun. Don't worry about following it to the toe if you think that your players aren't going to like it. And most of all, just do your best to have fun as a DM yourself. It can be very daunting at first, but you can get into some serious moments where you can create some amazing friendships and bonds between you and your players. So don't be afraid is the biggest thing for new DMs.
All right. Thank you very much, Ben. That that's it, and people can follow you on Twitter at TigerHeart768, right?
678. So
678.
close.
It will be correct in the descriptions.
Well, we hope.
And yeah, thank you for being on the show, and talk to you soon.
Yep, you too.
Bye.
Bye.